that score. Okay, so for those of you who weren't able to actually come out to my debate with Cenk Uygur, I thought it was a great event. 3,000 people showed up for the event. They had to move the venue because so many people showed up. About 2,000 people were fans of the show, fans of mine, which was really fun and unexpected. In the past, debates including Cenk have really been Cenk's army outnumbering whoever the conservative is, people like Dinesh, people like Ann Coulter. But I thought that the debate was actually really substantive. I was not expecting it to be substantive. To be completely honest with you, I was expecting it to look a lot more like Cenk's debate with Ann or Dinesh, where it turned into a slap fight, where it was really Dinesh, where it was really Cenk taking some piece that someone wrote 10 years ago, using it out of context, and then turning to the crowd and calling them a racist. That actually didn't happen. It turned out to be a pretty substantive debate. I wanted to give you some of the highlights in case you weren't able to see it. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. It was trending all day on YouTube yesterday. It's trending all day on YouTube today. Hundreds of thousands of hits, millions of hits actually, at this point when you aggregate them for this debate, which I thought was really an important debate, an actually useful, important debate. We talked about healthcare and taxes. Here are just a few of, I thought, the best moments for me. Here was my explanation of capitalism. Cenk had contended that Keynesianism was the best possible solution to making economic prosperity happen. Here was me debunking that.
The problem with Keynesian economics is that it doesn't even work in theory because, again, once you go to the logical extreme, which is remove all of the money from the rich people who are saving all their money and give it to all the poor people to buy hamburgers, that doesn't help the economy or spur the economy. What spurs the economy is a higher level... Right. What spurs the economy is the creation of new products and services, and that is only going to be done by people who have expendable capital to actually invest in the new products and services that we all enjoy. This is what creates economic growth. It's also worth noting that this myth that spending is inherently better for an economy than saving, that's only true if you're talking about somebody's actually taking the cash and just shoving it into their mattress. Banks are in the business of lending. When they take the money in, they don't just stick it in Al Gore's fake lockbox. They actually lend the money back out to people to actually create new businesses and new products. You had an investor, right? When you started TYT, you were given $4 million by Buddy Roemer to start TYT. That's great. That's the way business should work, right? But that money it didn't come from a bunch of poor people buying hamburgers. It came from a very, very wealthy guy who gave you money to create a business a lot of people want to patronize. If you want better products and better services, you need more investment in the products and services. The basic name, trickle-down economics, the basic name trickle-down economics is not something that any conservative even proposed. It's a leftist revision of what economics actually is, because you're not giving me the money. It was my money in the first place, created through voluntary transactions that I had with others. I've not stolen money from anyone, neither have you. And the idea that money has to be forcibly taken from you and handed to somebody at the bottom end of the economic spectrum to somehow jog the economy, that may jog McDonald's, but is not going to jog all of the creation of the products and services that make all of our lives much better today than they were 30 years ago in terms of the stuff we have access to.
So as I say, I think that it was a really substantive, interesting debate. I wanted to make a few notes about Medicare because Cenk was talking a lot about Medicare in this debate. He talked a lot about the glories of Medicare and how popular it was. Just because a program is popular doesn't mean the program is actually good. I talked about the cost of Medicare. There's a $43 trillion outstanding debt on Medicare. That's how much money it's going to cost the United States. According to a columnist over at National Review, I want to get his name, Michael Tanner, he gives some good statistics on all of this. He points out that not only is there $60 billion of fraud and improper payments in Medicare per year, but right now, if somebody pays into Medicare, Cenk kept saying you pay into Medicare and you get out of Medicare. What you pay into Medicare is not what you get out of Medicare. A married couple with two average earners turning 65 in 2020 will have paid about $150,000 in Medicare payroll taxes over their lifetime. Given their life expectancy, they can expect to receive almost $500,000 in benefits. That means that you're going to spend an enormous amount of money. Beyond that, Medicare is not actually doing that great a job because a lot of doctors are not accepting Medicare anymore. They won't accept new Medicare patients because Medicare reimbursement rates are simply too low. So just because there is Medicare doesn't mean that everybody takes Medicare, which is why a lot of people are forced to pay out of pocket. It is also true that according to this column, not only will this force even more physicians out of the program, according to the actuaries at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the combination of effects leads to roughly half of hospitals, 70% of skilled nursing facilities, and 90% of home health agencies losing money by 2040, which will lead to widespread closures. You pay people too little money, and they're not going to actually succeed. Also, the Journal of American Medical Association has found that for 16 of 40 standard indicators, Medicare patients received less recommended less care than 2/3 of the time. The rest, less care than recommended 2/3 of the time. Other studies have shown that Medicare patients receive a lower quality of care than do similar patients with private health insurance. A study in the Journal of Health Services found Medicare coverage at 65 for the previously uninsured is not linked to improvements in overall health status. We've seen that with Medicaid as well. There is no advantage to actually being on Medicaid in terms of life expectancy and health outcome. So for all the talk about Medicare for all, it costs a lot of money and it ain't that effective, and it drives doctors out of the program. It leads to rationing, by the way. As I've said before, I don't believe that the government should be involved in healthcare. Healthcare is an individual decision that you make, and there should be a social fabric that picks up the pieces for people who can't afford for themselves. But if you were to have some sort of program, the most effective program in terms of health insurance is the Swiss program, the Switzerland mandated program where you all buy health insurance just like car insurance, but it's almost entirely privatized. The problem there is that the number of people who are not able to get the insurance that they want to get is like 31%. Because as I said in this debate, when it comes to healthcare, you can only have, when it comes to health insurance and healthcare, both of these things, well, healthcare really, when it comes to healthcare, you can only have three things, right? You can have affordability, universality, quality. You can have two of those three. You cannot have all three. Obamacare has created more universality, it has not created more quality, and it has not created more affordability. And Cenk kept saying, no, you can have it all. You can have it cheap, you can have it effective, you can have it for everybody. No, that's not true, because there's no area in life where you can make something cheap and effective for everybody unless you have a free market system driving prices down and quality up. Anytime you have a mandate, all that does is it drives the quality down and the prices up, which is exactly what's happened with Obamacare. Other things from the debate that were fun, Cenk's big thing is he doesn't like money in politics, and I was pointing out to him that money will always be in politics, and that's not a bad thing, considering that we spend lots of money here at the Daily Wire on bringing you political material. Cenk spends a lot of money over at TYT bringing people political material, pretending that my $200 donation to a candidate is the same thing as Cenk spending millions of dollars to bring his particular political view to the public, which definitely forwards the agenda of particular politicians. That's just silly. Money is a form of speech. We all know this because this is why we wouldn't allow the government to come in and shut down the New York Times on the grounds that, hey, after all, they're just spending money. It isn't speech. I made this point to Cenk in rather colorful fashion.
If the government is in the business of regulating business, what would be the problem with the government telling Buddy Roemer he is not allowed to invest in your business?
No, those are two different issues. No problem. No, one thing is to say, hey, let's set reasonable limitations on what can happen around elections, which is, again, what most developed Western countries do. So, and they have different versions of that rule. There's ads you can run, you can't run ads within a certain period of time, you have public financing versus private financing. Those are rules around an election. That is a completely different issue than the government saying randomly you can and you can't invest in businesses. Why? So you're conflating those two issues that have nothing to do with one another.
Why?
So let's just
wait. What does why mean?
Because
you believe in education, so why don't you believe in healthcare?
Because it's a free country, and I get to spend my money wherever I damn well please.
Okay, so and then finally, Cenk had said something. He was trying to make the distinction between money and speech when it comes to politics, and so he said, well, if money is just speech, then why isn't all money just speech? Well, money for political speech is political speech. Money on other things is not. But in any case, he compared it to prostitution. He said, well, if money is just speech, then why can't I just, go spend money on a hooker and call it speech? Here was my response.
When you say money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money, after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work?
Yeah, it got interesting. So if you missed the whole thing, then you can go and check it out on YouTube. We also have it up on my Facebook page as well. We are releasing clips of it too. It was a lot of fun. It's about an hour long, so it shouldn't take too much of your time. But we'll be releasing some of the better clips from it